Hi, hello everybody, and welcome into another edition of the Racing Angle, episode 20. This one titled "Dust in the Wind." I'm your host, Logan Loganity Morris. Great to be here. Good to have some doggone fun. It's just lovely to be back for another Wednesday. Peyton Lore back there on the ones and twos. Yo, DJ, spin that. She's working hard behind the scenes. I mean, just always working hard, making it happen. Blowing out graphics, getting it done. Always kind of nitpicking at what needs to be done. What an incredible woman that is with those fly nails. Anywho, welcome in. We got a lot to talk about and a little time to get there. So what do you say we do that? I know that for some of us it was WrestleMania weekend, but there was racing too. So let's get to our race week rewind. All right, the race week rewind. Kansas. Stop me if you've heard this before. Don't, because you certainly have. Tyler Reddick gets it done in the Cup Series. He gets it done, and look, what an incredible drive by him, right? He was on the pole at Kansas, and didn't look like it was going to be his day. He even ran out of fuel late, scraped the wall. They switched to the other kind of fuel tank, if you will, and then that gave him enough to kind of survive. It looked like it was going to be Denny Hamlin's race to win. He came up just short. Of course, Denny does have the one win this year, and he's always great at Kansas, so he's looking for more. He comes up just short to his driver. Toyota continues to dominate. Tyler Reddick continues to dominate. But there was a Chevrolet in the conversation, and his name, you might know him, you might love him, you might not love him, was Kyle Larson. Kyle Larson is building momentum. I know that he came up short. He came up short at Bristol. I understand that. I get it. And I know he came up short at Kansas. But he's building momentum, and he looks all of a sudden like he can win again. Now, anyone that is kind of panicked or surprised by the Chevrolet struggles, don't be. Remember, they had a new body this year, and you might say, well, that sure doesn't look like a big change. And you're right, it wasn't a big change. But we know the minute details, especially in this era, are huge. And so that certainly plays a factor. But right now, Kyle Larson is looking strong. He's looking like the best Hendrick driver out there. And he looks, I'm not necessarily going to say he's a real contender this week because we know he struggles on the super speedways, but he looks like he's going to find victory lane soon. He's looked very strong in the last several weeks, and he looks like he's going to it looks like he's going to win real soon. Freddie tuning in. We always appreciate Freddie. I'll tell you what, he's the most loyal listener, lover, watcher we got. He said Reddick all the time winning is starting to get old real quick, but I don't disagree with you. Look, I'm not necessarily thrilled about it if I'm just being honest. Like, I can applaud the success and I can say, man, that's great, and what a bang up job by Tyler Reddick. But at the same time, yeah, it is getting old to watch. I want to ask this question: how many more is Tyler Reddick going to win this year? I was having this discussion with a buddy of mine last night, Justin Seeger, running on Scuffs. And, he asked that question to me, and he goes, well, how many do you think he's going to win? And I said, one more. There's a Loganity take. This won't last much longer. Here's why it won't last much longer. Parody of this era. And I know, but what's the difference between the first 10 weeks and now? These guys are working their ass off at the shop every single week, every single day, and everybody's getting better. And usually when everybody's getting better, that means you're catching up. And so I got a hot take for you. I think Reddick only wins one more race this year. Could be this week, but I don't think it goes beyond 6. I just, the kind of domination that he's on, I don't know that it lasted in most eras, but it damn sure isn't built to last in this one. In this era of let's put a blanket on it. Let's have the field be as tight as we can be. I just don't personally think it lasts that much longer. Maybe that's just wishful thinking because you're right, Freddie. It is getting old. You're right that it's not that fun to watch. And if you're a Tyler Reddick fan, and I know a few of them, they're partying up. They're getting it going. I mean, they're running wild like it's Hulkamania '85. And I get it. If it was Legacy Motor Club, I'd be coming on here every single week, spraying the pop like it's champagne. I mean, I'd have to wipe down the technology every week, but I would. So I get it. I understand how frustrating it is for those of us that aren't necessarily on the Reddick bandwagon, but we should also respect how great this run is. And it is a great run because to have this kind of domination in this era where NASCAR is doing everything it can do to not have this kind of run, you got to admire it on some level. And I know that there are some that say, well, the lawsuit, they got it from the lawsuit. Pump your brakes. Pump your brakes. You know who else was in that lawsuit? Front row. You know who tends to be in the Federal Witness Protection Program most weeks? Front row. And so why didn't they get some of that love? Why isn't RCR getting some of that love? Because they were not suing NASCAR, but they were certainly involved in the lawsuit. I get it. I hear you. I know it's strange, but Tyler Reddick is a great driver. When's the last time RCR was competitive weekly, like for real, for real? Tyler Reddick was driving that 8 car. And that's the way that is. And so I understand the frustration. I understand why it's easy to go, man, what's going on there? Tyler Reddick is a great driver, and Michael Jordan's got more money than most people on the planet. Like, Michael Jordan's like top 10 richest people. And before anyone says they came out of nowhere, and I'm not a 23-11 stan, this is their 6th year. Frankly, this is proof for the other teams that, hey, if you take time and gel, you can compete. You can compete. Like, I mean, it's not like they haven't gone through their struggles. Now, I get they haven't exactly ever been a poverty team, but they have had 6 years leading up to this of where they only won occasionally, very sparingly. And so sometimes it just takes time to gel. Sometimes everything just clicks. And I get that everyone goes, well, that's awful suspicious with the lawsuit. But maybe 6 years isn't a lot of money, and it just came due. And people go, well, Tyler didn't win last year. No, he did. But he also had a lot going on. He was dealing with his son's health issues, and thank God those appear to be in the rearview mirror. And you just don't. And I'm sure that the lawsuit was a distraction to the team. And I'm sure that everything just, I'm sure that it just felt odd and weird and under pressure. Remember, they didn't even have charters for like the second half of the year. And so with that pressure off, and they're riding the high of pretty much winning the lawsuit, even though that's not what technically happened, perhaps 5 is a surprise this early in the year, but I'm not surprised by their success overall. Again, we know money and funding is everything. Michael Jordan has got money. Michael Jordan's got more money than he knows what to do with. Michael Jordan could go on a spending spree the style of Dennis Rodman and Michael Jackson and not do a dent in his fortune. And then you add in all the sponsorship they get from Tyler Reddick, who just got Rockstar Energy. We know Bubba Wallace attracts sponsors like it or not. Riley Herbst has got the monster money. We talk about that a fair amount on the Racing Angle. If you add it up, we shouldn't be that surprised. I can agree that 5 is a surprise this early in the year. Absolutely. I can agree to that. But if you look at it logically on paper, no wonder they're winning. If you don't believe me, look at Michael Jordan's net worth. We talk all the time about how motorsports is money. Motorsports is money nowadays. It always has been, but it's on steroids now. Like, no wonder they're winning. He's got more money than any other owner in the garage by a lot. And Penske and Gibbs and Mr. H are not, they're not chump change. They can walk in any 5-star restaurant and do their damage and be just fine. But we have to acknowledge a couple of facts here Number one, Michael Jordan has a boatload of money. Number two, Denny Hamlin's not stupid. He knows how to. He's been around racing his whole life. If anyone would understand how a race operation works after a while, it would be Denny Hamlin. Number three, Tyler Reddick is a great driver. Number four, Bubba Wallace is not too shabby and brings in a lot of sponsorship. And even Riley Herbst, who kind of brings up the rear, has his purpose with Monster. And Corey Heim is waiting in the wings, who is an absolute savant in the trucks and didn't look too bad at Kansas in the Cup Series. All I'm saying is I get it's easy to go, what's going on here? But look at the logic. It shouldn't be as stunning as it is to some. That's all I'm saying. All right. Elsewhere, let's talk about the Cody Ware spin. Cody Ware spun late, or else this is probably a different show. We're probably talking Denny Hamlin wins the race. You play woulda, shoulda, coulda. Everyone is awful tough on Cody Ware and Rick Ware Racing. Everyone is. I think everybody is really tough on them. They're like, well, how does he spin? He's garbage. He's this. If you do your research, folks, and we didn't know this at the time, so I'm not going to fold any quick reactions. Cody Ware was on 60 lap old tires. Yeah, that's dying to spin. I don't care how slow you're going. One turn at Kansas, if you're on 60 lap old tires, because I'm betting Rick Ware doesn't have the funding for every other set of tires that everybody else has got. Yeah, that'll probably do it. I get that Cody Ware and Rick Ware are kind of the joke of the garage among the fandom and whatever, but it's really not fair. It's really not. Again, Cody Ware could outrun 98% of you that talk your crap, King. You don't know because you're not in the garage and you're not in the shop, and I'm not either. But it's a much safer bet to give them the benefit of the doubt. Those guys at Rick Ware Racing are busting their hump to be a 30th place car. They're busting their hump. And as a lot of people don't understand, the small teams work just as hard, if not harder, for a third of the results. Because they have to. They don't have the budget. They don't have the partners. They have later nights these days. And I'm not putting down the super teams. Good for you. You got money. Ain't going to fault anybody for having money in this world. But people are so tough on, like, it turns out he was on 60 lap old tires. Like, yeah, that's you'd have to baby that thing half the speed of smell and not expect to potentially spin. And it just happened when it happened. And people say, well, they didn't need to throw the caution there. I mean, he spun out in front of cars. Yes, everybody avoided him, and that's great. But that's how it panned out. If they don't throw the caution there and somebody creams him like a almost a T-bone, we're talking, why didn't they throw the caution flag? And frankly, if I'm being honest, since that was the only caution for cause, kind of glad it happened because it brought in that uncertainty. Now I know someone's going, well, I got to tie the Reddick win, so to the hell with it. But I like that uncertainty, that, oh my God, anything could happen here, because we know how restarts are in NASCAR in this era. My point is like, I get it's easy to kick on Rick Ware and it's easy to kick on Rick Ware Racing. I get it. I do. And, a previous version of me has done the same. But unless you're dialed into their radio every week, unless you're dialed into their HBO Max driver cam, I just think that we're all making a lot of comments based on something we don't know much about. I would give them the benefit of the doubt, and I would give Cody Ware the benefit of the doubt. And I get it; he's a nepotism hire and all that. So is Ty Gibbs. So is Austin Dillon. And I'm not saying you all don't give them crap too, but like let's not act like it's not a thing. People put people in spots. And you know what? If your dad was Rick Ware, you'd want him to put you in the spot too. I would. Why wouldn't I? Why wouldn't you? You'd be a fool to say, Hey, I want to race. I want to race, Dad. I want to race. Can't but I don't feel comfortable because I'm your kid. Hey, like and for Rick Ware, given they're an underfunded team on the NASCAR side, they have pretty good success on the drag racing side for what it's worth with Clay Millican and now Schumacher. Um, and if you Rick Ware on the NASCAR side, why wouldn't if your kid is capable of driving the car, you probably can pay him a little less. I don't know the books. Maybe he's getting paid more than somebody else would, but it's just it's a convenient thing on both sides that we all act like if we weren't in the same spot, we wouldn't do the same thing. I don't quite get that. Just my take. Just my take. All right, Taylor Gray won in the NASCAR O'Reilly Auto Parts Series, but the big story of this was the flip by Carson Quaffle. When we think of flips, we think of this weekend in Talladega or Daytona or maybe even Atlanta now. We don't think of Kansas. I think this is a crash that will be studied for quite some time by NASCAR. I really do. Because they're going to want to know how the air got under the car and what happened. Because anytime a car flips like that, because the biggest thing you can do for safety right now these days is keep the cars on the ground. We know that. We know that's huge. We know that's the point. But they're gonna study this thing, and I thought Dale Jr. summed it up perfectly on the Dale Jr. download. It's like, what are we doing? What are we doing flipping in Kansas? That's glad he was okay. He was my pick to win here on the racing angle, and that lasted all about 2 laps. That was another thing is like these crashes, they happen so quickly. Like we hadn't even knocked the rust off, so to speak. But that's where qualifying and practice was rained out for the O'Reilly guys, and that's where things can go haywire. That's why there's the comp caution, and yet nobody wanted to run like there was a comp caution. We're going to talk more about the O'Reilly series later on in the show. Here, there's some big time scuttlebutt on what the future of the O'Reilly series could be. I doubt it would be, but we're going to talk about it. I'm talking about electric vehicles, folks. Electric vehicles. I know. I can hear y'all now, pitchforking it. And then Alex Palou got it done at Long Beach. Alex Palou continues to be on a historic IndyCar run. He now reclaims the points lead. But it was a good day for Scott Dixon and others got on the podium. I got to be honest with you, I didn't see a ton of this race myself. Again, it was WrestleMania weekend. Not going to lie to you on that. But I caught some highlights, and it looked like a good show. But Alex Palou is something special right now. He's hot. He's hotter than a pepper. Now, here's the way the calendar of motorsports moves so quickly. We're coming up on the month of May. Next on the IndyCar schedule is the Indy Road Course. And then it's time for the Indy 500. I mean, you think about that, how quickly that moves. And, of course, the Indy 500 greatest day of motorsports, because then we got the Coke 600. You used to have Monaco, but now they've kind of done away with that, and that's a little disappointing if I'm being quite frank. But man, motorsports moves quickly. What we're going to do is we're going to take a quick break, and when we come back, we're going to talk some hot lap headlines, and there's a lot to chat about. So don't move and move. We're going to take a quick little breather, and then when we come back, we got hot lap headlines to talk about. Tired of missing that big play? Fed up with waiting hours for the wrap-up? The local scene deserves more. Heart-pounding. Game-changing. Homegrown. C-Bus Sports. C-Bus Sports brings you live updates, in-depth analysis, and local athlete spotlights all in one place. From high school to pro, they cover the games that matter to you. Get inside access from the locker room to the starting line. Meet the players that Columbus roots for. This is more than sport, it's our community. It's every kid in cleats, every team in the stands, and every fan who bleeds their colors. C-Bus Sports is here for the passion, the pride, and the hometown story. Go to cbussports.com today and be the first in the know. C-Bus Sports. The game doesn't wait, and neither should you. And welcome back to the Racing Angle, ladies and gentlemen. Got a little change in my pocket going jing-a-ling-a-ling, as the Georgia Satellites classic says. Pardon me if you can hear a little rain into the podcast. I got the window open. It's a little storm in here at the Low Gandy Lounge, but it's nice to listen to. Anywho, want to remind you, follow us on all our social media on X, on Twitter, whatever you want to call it these days, Facebook, TikTok, whatever have you. We, of course, want to thank cbussports.com for being a partner to this podcast. Always great to work with them and Kevin around the team. I'm part of that team on occasion. I went out and covered those Columbus Aviators the last 2 home games, and you can check out my stories up at cbussports.com. There's the URL right there. Boom, www.cbussports.com. You can stay up to date with all the Columbus news. We're getting a soccer team in Columbus, a female soccer team. I know producer Peyton is fired up about that. She's fired up, ready to go. I think she's going to be out there covering games. I can see it happening. Doing produce work down there covering the team in 2028. Anywho, but yes, please go follow C-Bus Sports Local on X and cbussports.com on Facebook and all the other socials, and certainly check out the website at www.cbussports.com. Great content and stories there, even if you're not from the Columbus area. So, all right, with that, what do you say we get into some Hot Lap headlines? All right, time for Hot Lap headlines, and there are a few to get to here. Let's go ahead. Daniel Dye is going to run 4 races for Live Fast Motorsports beginning this weekend at Talladega. The other starts will include Pocono, Daytona, the night race, and then the fall Dega race. Now, in any other week before this week, I'd say we're going to see Daniel Dye certainly in the field this weekend. But for the first time since 2018, a non-Daytona 500 race, that's right, this race this weekend at Talladega has 41 entries on the entry list. That means 1 car is going home. And so there is no guarantee that Daniel Dye makes the race. There was a lot of hubbub and pitchforks out when this got announced, saying, "Oh my gosh, this and that and this and that." And he fell upward like Kyle Larson. Oh my gosh. Look, I want to reiterate one more time. What he said was dumb, immature, and wrong. Full stop, period. However, I want to say this to people as well. We can't go back and undo what we said. There is no time machine. There is no rewind button on this thing called life. If you have found it, please let me know, because there's some things we'd all love to go back and change. He apologized. He has gone through whatever training NASCAR asked him to do to fulfill his obligations to get reinstated. Right now, what more can he do? What more can he do to get back in anyone's good graces? And that's to the Daniel Dye detractors right now. That would be my question to you: is what would you like to see for him to be back in your good graces and not have the proverbial pitchforks out for him? He apologized. He owned up. He went through the training of whatever NASCAR asked him to do to be reinstated. And now all he can do is move forward. That's all any of us can do. And so, and people say, well, he fell upward. He's now making his Cup Series start. I mean, it's not in the greatest of equipment, number one. Number two, maybe it's a good opportunity for him and live fast. Maybe BJ's not wanting to be in the seat right now. Maybe he's looking for a place to hand off those driver duties, because when you're especially when I believe when you're an owner of a smaller team, the things you got to do on race weekend, race day, it's a busy schedule. It's a busy schedule. You're meeting with partners, you're doing this, you're doing that, you're doing things that I'm not even aware of probably. And so again, I get that what Daniel Dye did was stupid, careless, insensitive, and there's no excuse for it. However, we should also acknowledge that there is no time machine in this thing called life. There is no rewind button in this thing called life. And he's done what he can do right now. Let's give him a chance. Let's see if he's learned. Let's see if he's going to grow from this. There's got to be a path back, right? And so I wish him well, and I hope he makes the races and has some success. And he's still a pretty young guy, and he can learn and grow from this. And people say, well, he doesn't deserve this or doesn't deserve that. There are a slew of drivers that you can make an argument doesn't deserve something in motorsports. There's a lot of things going on behind the scenes you don't know, that I don't know, that none of us know. And so, I just think people are a little too hard on people like Daniel Dye on occasion. Just my take. Again, I think you can own the fact that he screwed up and was insensitive and was wrong, but also, man, you ain't got to condemn him forever for it either. There can be a balance. You can acknowledge it's wrong without thinking he's the worst human being to come down the pike since Charlie Manson or something. Cletus McFarland is going to return to the O'Reilly Auto Parts Series at Nashville. Look, I know everybody wanted to see Cletus at Talladega this weekend. I get it, right? And he will be in the ARCA race. They wanted to see him in the O'Reilly Series at Talladega. This is the stuff it takes to build to that, right? I mean, this is what it takes and you want to see him have success, and I want to see him have success. I don't know if RCR is the right team for that right now. We'll see what happens. They do pretty well in the O'Reilly Series, but people are so impatient with things. This is the process of getting cleared for a Talladega or his dream, the Daytona 500, or maybe his dream has evolved. Maybe now it's to be full-time in the Cup Series. That's what I hope to see. I hope his dream has evolved because that's how he can best help this sport. It'll be great to see him in the 500. Do not get me wrong, but it would be great to see him fully commit to this thing and be a week in, week out attraction as well. So we'll see what happens. Always rooting for Cletus. He's a good dude, but people get so impatient about things and what they want or don't want. And so let's wish him all the success in the world. NASCAR is evaluating the potential of using electric vehicles in the NASCAR O'Reilly Auto Parts Series. Now, I know this is a controversial one. I know that for many, many stalwarts in NASCAR, the idea of using electric vehicles, frankly, hybrid engines, is absolutely pitchfork-inducing and ready to throw the baby out of the bathwater, so to speak. I get it. I do. I really, really do. But there's a couple angles to take at this. Number one, I don't think we should change the O'Reilly Auto Parts Series. Some say it's the closest thing to true stock car racing we have right now, because certainly there's nothing stock car about the Cup Series, and there's certainly nothing stock car about the Truck Series because it's truck. And so I understand why people say, well, we shouldn't change the the O'Reilly series, the viewership's on the rise. This is on the rise. The mojo is working with the O'Reilly series right now, and it is. But there's a couple of different angles to take here, and I know this is going to be a hot one. NASCAR is in a business of getting OEMs, manufacturers, to attract to the sport. Right now, we have Chevy, we got Ford, and we got Toyota, and we have Ram in a limited faction in the Craftsman Truck Series. The reality is, they're in a business. NASCAR's in a business where you have to depend on those OEMs. I mean, unless we're just going to put stickers on and that's that. And if those OEMs, and for the record, I don't think this is happening right now, but it wasn't that long ago that they were focused on electric vehicles and EVs, and there's still a push for that. Now it's been a little quieted down in the current political climate, but certainly there's a push for EVs, and I get why people go, well, I like my cars loud, nasty, making noise, and hell yeah, brother. But also, what are we going to do when we're out of parts for these cars? Because these manufacturers make the parts. They have to go buy them from somewhere. And I know everything is Lego pieces in the Cup Series, but not so much in the O'Reilly Series. What are you going to do when you run out of parts? If the OEMs evolve to the point of doing EVs, there's going to come a point where NASCAR, just as a business model, probably has to as well. Now, there's another angle to that. That could destroy the series. That could destroy the O'Reilly Auto Parts series, because there is a loud faction, and I would say a large majority faction of the fan base, that would absolutely revolt at the idea of EVs in NASCAR on a major scale. I think an electric series could be a thing that could have some moderate success. But I think the closer the EV or the idea of EVs come to the Cup Series, there's a lot of people that would revolt at that, and I respect that. But if you're NASCAR, what do you do? Because at some point, these OEMs are going to decide, hey, these cars are behind the times. We don't want to make these parts. We don't want to produce these parts. And if you want to keep us in the sport, this is where we're going. We're already seeing it on some level in the Cup Series with Chevrolet. They don't make a Camaro anymore. They don't make a Camaro. But yet it's a Chevrolet Camaro. So I just personally, I feel for NASCAR, because, again, I get totally that the idea of EVs for a lot of people are a no-go. I get it. I really do. But if they run out of those parts, what are you going to do? What are you going to do? What do they do as a business? And so I would not want to be in NASCAR's position. I wouldn't want to be in NASCAR's position at all, because it is a lose-lose. Because you could have a revolt among the fan base if they ever go anything close to electric. But if you don't have the OEM support and you don't have the OEMs coming into the sport, that's a major loss of money. That's a major loss of revenue that may be more than the loss of fans. NASCAR's in a serious spot right now. Personally, and this is going to make people uncomfortable, and I get it, NASCAR will go whatever way the world goes. And I don't mean right now. I don't mean 2 years or even 5 or whatever it may be. They will go the way the world goes, and here's what I mean by that. If there becomes a major nationwide or large swath of EV push that is successful in this country, that's the way NASCAR will go. This whole getting back to our roots thing, it only lasts as long as the stink of the lawsuit. In 5 years, do you think they're still going to be focused on getting back to their roots? Doubt it. It's because they've pissed a lot of people off, and the lawsuit put that under a microscope. And so I think there's a chance. There's certainly a chance someday you'll see a hybrid engine, but it's one of them things where, what do you do? I personally, if you're going to make those major changes, don't do it to the O'Reilly series because it maintains a level of tradition. Maybe in the Cup Series someday, because again, there is nothing stock car about the Cup Series right now. It's Lego pieces. It's Lego pieces, and that's the way it is. And so, could I see electric in the Cup Series someday? Yeah, I absolutely could, depending on the way of the country and how the things go. And that's a lot of politics and red tape, and that's not the show I want to be. And quite frankly, I'm not educated enough to tell you how that's all going to turn out. But I hope it doesn't happen to the O'Reilly Auto Parts Series, because I think the Cup Series could survive something like that more, because it's just more ingrained in Americana, if that makes sense. Not so much the O'Reilly Auto Parts Series. And so very, very interesting to see how that all shakes out. Orca standout Max Reeves is going to make his Cube 3 TA2 Series debut this weekend at Sonoma in the Trans Am Series. Max Reeves cut that essentially what is a wrestling promo at Hickory Motor Speedway a few weeks ago when he came up short in the race, and he cut that wrestling promo in front of the crowd that was kind of Kyle Busch-esque. But good to see the Trans Am Series going to stand out like Max Reeves in the Trans Am Series. It's going to be exciting to see what he can do. The TA2 class is filled with great talent. I don't know that he's going to compete with Elio Mesa. We'll see what happens. Elio continues to be – he's 3 for 3 in his first Trans Am start, so he's trying to make it 4 for 4 this weekend. Actually, he's trying to make it 5 for 5 because it's a double header at Sonoma, and we're looking forward to watching that for sure this weekend. Going to be a great weekend of racing all around the country, and certainly there at Sonoma. But I think it's great to see him come to the Trans Am Series, get some much-needed road course experience, and it's great for the Trans Am Series to get some much-needed exposure, because Max Reeves could be a huge name in the future. With that, we're going to take one more break, and when we come back, we're going to do some checkered thoughts, and then we'll make some predictions, and we'll get out of here, and we'll have some fun. So don't move and move. We'll be right back. Back to the Racing Angle, and again, I want to remind you to give us a follow on the socials, on X, on Instagram, on Facebook, TikTok. You can follow me on my personal account at Loganity. You see it right there in the beautiful the beautiful sidebar. But yeah, give us a follow. Help us support this channel as much as you can. Help us grow on Facebook. We're closing in on 100 followers on Facebook. And when we get that, we can go live on Facebook and YouTube at the same time. So that will be extremely exciting. And we want to thank all of our followers so far. All right, so we've broke down Kansas, we've broke down our hot lap headlines, and now what do you say we get to some checkered thoughts? All right, some checkered thoughts this week, and it comes from our main man, KFB, as some call him. And I'm talking, of course, about Kyle Busch, the one, the only. And you give him a microphone, a bullhorn media session in qualifying, and he'll give you something. There's been a lot of talk about what Denny Hamlin said on his podcast about Kyle Busch and how RCR is and how he is right now and all those sort of things. And he was asked about those comments before the race at Kansas, before qualifying. And he said, if Denny wants to switch cars, I'll switch cars with him. Busch told the Athletics' Jeff Gluck, any day of the week, anytime. I'd love for him to show me how he can carry it better than I can. He can bash me all he wants. I can certainly make his life hell. Well, never say that Kyle Busch isn't one to speak his mind. He certainly is that and has been that his entire career. And I got to tell you, I agree with him. Now, I haven't made a great history of agreeing with Kyle Busch throughout my life and throughout various podcast and media platforms I've been a part of. But I agree with him. I think it's easy to sit back and say, oh, such and such, boy, they look all. And I'm not saying that Denny was bashing him, but I do think that Denny, and I don't think Denny was bashing him, but I do think Denny should have gave more of a caveat of like, hey, I don't know the nuts and bolts of what's going on at RCR right now. And I don't know the situation he's in fully. And it's certainly in as good as the situation I got at Gibbs in 2311. And so to me, just my take here, I agree with. I don't know that Denny Hamlin could do much better than Kyle Busch in this car. I don't. I really, really don't. And that light, boy, that thunder crack, that lightning crack, boy, that scared the hell out of me. And so, but we love God's nature out here. But I don't know that Kyle Busch could do any better than and Denny Hamlin could do any better. I don't. Denny Hamlin is in a great situation with JGR. In a great situation with JGR. Absolutely a great situation. Wonderful. Kyle Busch, not so much. Kyle Busch, not so much. And I don't think it's because Kyle Busch has run out of that much talent. Sure, I think the next gen adjustment has been tough for him. I really do. But I don't look at him and go, yeah, he's washed up. I think that is such a simplistic, lazy answer to those issues. I don't think it's as simple as washed up. I think he's had a hard time adjusting to this next gen car. And RCR is not good right now in the Cup Series. They're not. Yes, Austin Dillon is outrunning him ever so slightly. But they're not good in the Cup Series right now. And I don't think even Pop would tell you otherwise. It's a simplistic and lazy answer to say, well, Kyle Busch is just washed. Maybe he is, but it goes deeper than that. It goes way deeper than that, because I think if you put him in the 11 car, he wins some races. Maybe he doesn't win at the rate that Denny is. But it's a simplistic and lazy answer to say he's washed. That's that. That's like, who could you put in that 8 car right now, realistically, that could do much better? I don't look at many people Tyler Reddick, Kyle Larson, the top names of the sport, maybe. Could Alex Bowman do much better? Could Eric Jones do much better? Could John Hunter Nemechek do much better? Could Bubba Wallace do much better? Could Chase Elliott do much better? I don't know. I don't think that is a clear, concrete answer at all. Because it goes as simple as this. Kyle Busch hasn't forgotten how to drive a race car. It's what he's done his whole life. And it's what he's done better than most his whole life. So I just don't think it's as simple as he's washed. And I think it's easy for someone like Denny Hamlin to sit on the podcast and have a kind of a 30,000 foot view and go, oh boy, that looks awful. RCR ain't got your resources, Denny. And I'm not some Kyle Busch stan. Again, if you look at my history, not a big fan. Not a big KB guy. But to say, oh, he's just washed, maybe, but maybe not. And I think the people that act like that's a guaranteed fact, yeah, I don't think you know what you're talking about. I don't think you have the full view of things, because he came to RCR and he won 3 of his first 10. One of them at Talladega. Maybe he could win this weekend and silence the critics. I do. I think it's a lazy take. It's as lazy a take as Stephen A. Smith saying NASCAR drivers aren't athletes. I mean, it's a lazy take. Just my opinion, just my thought. But I just don't personally agree with the idea of, oh, he's washed. That's that. Wrap it up. If he wins at Talladega, do you go, well, I guess he ain't washed? Or do you go, it's just luck at Talladega? We all have our narratives. And right now the narrative is Kyle Busch is washed. But again, I think if you look deeper at it, it's bigger than that. And I think a change of scenery would do Kyle Busch immensely good. I think if you went to Spire right now, he gets a win or two next year. Don't believe me? Look how all of a sudden Daniel Suarez is running pretty respectable in Spire equipment. There are some teams in Chevy on the downtrend. RCR is one, Trackhouse is another. So that's just something to think about, folks. Just something to think about. Don't be so simplistic about it. Look a little deeper. Analyze. Climb out of your holes, people. Climb out of your holes. Anywho, with that, it's about time we get to the lap ahead as we get ready to close this edition of the Racing Angle Down. We're going to bring in the most beautiful producer on planet Earth, as far as I'm concerned, producer Peyton Moore. And we're going to make some predictions. But again, let's get to our lap ahead. All right, time for the lap ahead. And there is a lot of racing this weekend of all disciplines, types, funsies, and all the things. So you got the Cup Series and the No Apps at Talladega. When we're looking forward to that, I know that producer Peyton and I will be neck deep in maybe some pizza and Doritos. I don't know. We might. We'll be fired up and ready to go. And there's the 4 lines at Charlotte NHRA. We'll be keeping an eye on that one as well. There's a doubleheader in Trans Am Sonoma, the TA2 and the quote unquote main class run doubleheaders. That includes a field featuring Paul Menard from NASCAR fame, of course. Save big money. Let's bring in producer Peyton for some predictions for the weekend. Let's go ahead and get that done. Producer Peyton, how are you?
I'm okay.
You always sound thrilled to be here on the Racing Angle, and we just can't tell you how much we appreciate it. So how's your day been? All right?
It's been a crazy day, but work is over and I'm here now.
All right. Well, with that, what do you say we make some Talladega predictions? Where do you want to start? You want to start Cup or O'Reilly?
Start with the No Apps.
The No Apps. All right. Well, ladies first on this show. I'm a big believer in that. So give me your no apps prediction.
Well, I think the obvious pick is Austin Hill. So I'm going to take Jesse Love.
So you think Pop Pop's going to be happy on Saturday either way?
Yes.
Okay. All right. Well, I'm going to continue the RCR theme of the show, and I'm going to take Austin Hill because again, it's the obvious pick. He is a savant at these super speedways. I have said very cleanly and clearly he is as good as it comes in any era on super speedways, and I believe that to be true. And I think he's going to prove it one more time at Talladega this weekend. Don't overthink it. Austin Bobby Hill and the boys going to be right at Talladega. That's just my opinion. We shall see what happens. All right, now, producer Peyton, let's move to the Cup Series, Talladega. It's a track that anybody can win. Anybody. We said that every week to some extent, but you know as well as I do. Atlanta, Daytona, Talladega, everybody truly has a real chance. Daniel Dye, if he makes the field, has a real chance. Fair? Because it's Talladega. So, give me your Talladega prediction, Miss Producer Peyton.
I thought long and hard about this,
Mm-hmm.
and this driver has won this year already, so I don't think it'll be a new winner. So I'm gonna say, give me that, give me that 12 car.
Give me that 12 car. Oh, Ryan Blaney. He certainly has success on Talladega and Super Speedways as a whole. Not a bad pick at all. I'm gonna go with somebody that has a lot of success at Talladega as well in super speedways, and just as always a competitor at these tracks. And these are always the toughest tracks to predict. We could both be wrong. Both these drivers could end up in a colossal crash at lap 5, and it wouldn't be stunning as Talladega. But get me Bubba Wallace Jr. We know he's won at Talladega. We know how great he is at super speedways as a whole. He proves it time and time again, and it doesn't even matter the funding because he was competitive at RPM with it. So I think Bubba Wallace Jr. has a great chance of getting it done. Yeah, that one, that man named Daryl there. Yeah, and
So when he drove your number.
yeah, that's when he drove for the King. And so and remember, even back in those days, producer Peyton, he was strong at the super speedways. It's just something he understands. He can see the wind or something like Dale Senior. I don't know, but there's something great about Bubba Wallace and super speedways, and so I think he's got a great chance of getting it done.
I would be content with that.
Well, we'll see what happens. I'll always take a being right on the racing angle. That's always content to me. All right, with that, what do you say we get to our final lap? All right, producer Peyton, any final words for the folks before we get to Talladega and the NHRA 4 Wides and the Trans Am Series at Sonoma? Any final words for the week?
The 2 Talladega races a year are always some of my favorite weekends.
Mm-hmm.
I like all super speedways, including the newly super speedway in Atlanta. But there's something special. I know, like, Daytona is Daytona, but there's something special about Talladega, and I just really enjoy it, so I'm looking forward to it.
I believe we'll be spending race weekend together, Ms. Producer Peyton. I'm looking forward to that as well.
Yes.
We'll be dialed in so we can take our notes for Wednesday and get everybody fired up. So you got Ryan Blaney, I got Bubba Wallace, but we know who I'm rooting for in my heart. Let's just say that. We know who I'm rooting for in my heart. I might need a bag of Doritos. This weekend. We'll see what happens. So with that, That's been producer Peyton. I'm Logan Morris. Enjoy the race weekend. Motorsports needs you. They need your viewership. They need your support. They need your, and it's just, there's nothing like this sport in the world, no matter what pundits like Stephen A. Smith say. NASCAR drivers and NHRA drivers and Trans Am drivers, they are athletes. They're as much athletes as any drivers and people in the world. They're incredible. IndyCar is incredible. F1 is incredible. They do things that people like Stephen A. Smith couldn't dream about. And so the field, all fields of motorsports should be respected and revered in terms of what they do. And so until next time, that's been Peyton. I've been Logan. This has been the Racing Angle, and we'll see you next week, and we'll see you at the next track.